Hello and welcome to OurTime. Here is a sobering thought. Without invertebrate animals, our world would be an inhospitable place. Here's another sobering thought. How would you like to live your whole life in dead wood? And here to explain exactly what that means, from Bugs and Slugs, hello, Kristen Messenger.
Oh, you know what? My house it's ironclad, but it's a timber frame, so I am living in dead wood.
Well,
Lots of us do.
Well, that's very true. I just live in dirt.
Oh, do you?
Yes.
Well, you're a bit posher than me.
Yes, well, there you go. Kristen, you've been on the show before many times, and every time, everybody in the studio goes, oh, what's that? Oh, take that away from me. Oh, I'm an arachnophobe.
I didn't bring any of those this time.
No. Well, that's probably a good thing. But when we talked about you doing this segment, you said, I'm only going to tell you it's dead wood. And I said, what, the stage leaving town?
Yeah, we'll crack away.
Exactly. And you said, no, there's so many things that need dead wood to live in.
Yeah.
And I'd never really considered that before, you know.
No. And so the reason I want to talk about it is because I always get asked by people, what can I do? What's something simple and easy I can do in my garden to, increase biodiversity, to give something back to nature? And, I'm not much of a gardener. I don't want to plant things. I've only got a really small space. And my answer to that is dead wood. What you can do, it's really simple.
Love your answer.
Really easy.
Yes.
Find a piece of dead, like firewood type stuff,
like this piece.
Yeah, hardwood, not pine. It needs to be hardwood. Doesn't really matter what kind of hardwood. Any kind of hardwood. So that's
and
gum.
Actually, why? Why is that? Why does it need to be hardwood?
Because what we want to do is attract native species to that dead wood.
For a long time.
For a long time, over a long period while that dead wood breaks down.
Right.
And the native species that need to live in dead wood prefer native Australian hardwood.
Like gum trees.
And if they can't get native Australian hardwood, then any hardwood will kind of do.
Right.
But pine is not so great. A, because it breaks down faster. B, because it's got some...
It's not really that native either, is it?
Yeah, no, it's not native. And there are some softwoods that are native, but when pine breaks down, it's got some resins and things in it that can be toxic to some...
to the creatures.
Yeah, so you're limiting the sort of things that can live in it. Some things can. Yeah, so some things can still live in softwood, but for ease of our how-to, I want you to get a piece of hardwood. And then I want you to... Here's one that I brought one
I prepared earlier.
Well, we know that's not true. We know that this is one that I bought from my garden.
And we know there's what is it?
Well,
baby lizard.
This has already been in my garden for about 10 years.
Right.
This way, right? Yep. So you always want to lay your dead wood down on its side, like it's
like
fallen.
It fell. Right.
Yep. You don't want to have it up this way, otherwise it gets...
showing the right way.
That's right.
Yep.
So this piece of dead wood has been in my garden for about 10 years. All kinds of things have acted on it, and there's even some evidence that there have been a few termites and small like slaters and things like that in this piece of dead wood.
Yep.
But when I picked it up and put it in the box to bring it here, James knocked out some of the...
Is your partner James?
My partner in crime.
Yeah, it's not the creature living in there,
no,
James.
But he knocked out some of the dirt and dust and cobwebs and spiders that were also living in this dead wood. And there's a gecko living in there. And you know that because
we've been
box.
Trying for some time to coax it out.
To try and film it. But of course, because this is the perfect habitat for something like a gecko. I've only got a pretty small yard and, down near the port, so it's not even good soil.
So in actual fact, the gecko is hiding down in there.
The gecko has got both a habitat in that piece of dead wood and a food source because there's other creatures in the dead wood as well.
Oh, of course, they'll be eating that small
these sort of things in here.
Yep.
Do you want you can show them if you like.
Oh, okay. Slaters and things that I am familiar with.
Yeah, people don't really pay much attention to slaters. They sort of...
Oh, look, they're running away. Don't run away. Just stay there.
They're a crustacean,
Yes.
Like a prawn or a yabby or a crab.
Yes.
Yeah.
A land
kind
one.
of. And beetles, this is a predatory ground beetle, and it has...
Is that the one you said might bite me? Sorry, my
No,
thumb's
but that one won't bite you, probably.
Well, it's just tested me and it didn't like it.
But that one has a larva a bit like a mealworm.
Yeah, but in this box there's a whole lot of other things running around.
Yeah, there's just random things that you would find in dead wood.
Oops, there's a few randoms in there. If you just pan down a little bit, you'll see in the box itself.
Just trying to rescue you from any...
And you've put a bit of food in there as well.
You have to feed
Now,
them.
why are slaters so important in the garden?
So slaters are detritivores. They break down all kinds of organic material, including dead wood. Lots of things do that. There's a whole army of invertebrates. That's why mulch is so important. That's why you always want to have mulch down on the garden.
And is that also a food source?
Yeah, that's
for
a
them
food
as
source,
it's rotting down?
and it insulates your soil as well, so
Yep.
it can.
But wouldn't that also grow some of the sort of I can't think of the right words. What are mushrooms? They're
Fungus.
Fungus.
Ah, you know what? I think maybe you are a genius because fungus.
I knew someone would recognise that eventually.
I feel like I've said this before, but I always say that
Only that
if
was
there
more
is
than
a
3
God,
years ago.
if there is a God, Malcolm, this is a big call, but if there is a God, it's fungus. Fungus is just so important.
Because there's more fungus on the planet than anything else apart from water, I do believe.
Oh, there's certainly a lot of fungus, but the role that fungus plays in nature is a little bit like... so fungal mycorrhizae, which are the roots of fungus, here's some I've prepared earlier. I don't know if you can see all this white stuff.
Let's have a look here. I'll hold it there for you. Oh, look, there's quite a lot there. You can actually see the moisture in the soil as well there.
Yeah, because this isn't just a box of dirt.
So we're talking about this.
This is a box of mycorrhizal infected wood. So when I grow certain bugs, there's some really important bugs that grow, that we call them saproxylic bugs, and they grow in association with not just dead wood, but the fungus that infects the dead wood. And the mycelium of the fungus, which is this white stuff here, is what's fermenting and breaking down the lignin in the wood, and that allows a whole heap of creatures to then digest that lignin. Otherwise they wouldn't be able to digest it. We can't eat wood for that reason.
Oh, we could try.
We could try. But so the things that I'm really interested in, and this is a mission I've been on for about, I want to say like 20 years I've been banging on about this, but are these things. Now, these are the larvae, or those ones are the larvae of a golden green stag beetle, which is Lamprima aurata, for anyone who cares. It's like me and two people.
No. I mean, if when you say me and two people, somebody
maybe
sitting,
4 people.
No, somebody sitting at home has suddenly found their interest in life from what you just said.
I hope so.
See, who made it happen for you? They're pretty lively, these two.
People, I think.
Sorry?
A few different people.
Yeah.
A few different people. But initially, probably my mum, who you know, she worked at a primary school before she worked in theatre. And at her primary school were this crazy teacher, Ruth and Arthur Pratt. And they ran the Gould League of South Australia. And they were just, I know lots of people like them now, but as a kid, they were the first 2 people that I met and thought, oh, they are my people.
Yes.
You know, and Ruth, you know,
this
God
is so
love her.
important in
She's
life,
still
though.
alive too.
Yeah.
I see her sometimes, and she's still the same.
Sorry, I'm holding this because these 2 have been happily walking around, but it's like they're sniffing the air to see what's going on. Can they do that?
Not so much, no. They're wriggling around because they want to be inside here. This is what they eat, and what they're really eating is the mycelium. So
sounds scrumptious.
Yeah. Well, they're beetles that we know all about. And I don't know if you want to show.
Yeah, I do.
Show that one. That's what they turn into. Now that one's been preserved, but that is one that I.
Now there it is, sitting at the top in this little glass chamber.
And so that's I did, yeah. That's a South Australian one. I didn't kill it though to do that to it. It just died of natural
I don't know,
causes.
sticking a needle up its backside wouldn't have done it the world of good, I wouldn't have thought.
Oh, no, it's glued to that. It's not sticking up its backside. It's all right. It's okay.
I'm just trying to show you the whole thing without light. There we go, that's better. Look at that.
It's very beautiful. That's a female. The males can be super
How
green.
do you know?
And, oh, that's a long story. I know because if I look at its tarsus, which are the front legs, they're different shaped.
And that's all that you can tell?
No. If you looked at its genitalia, you'd know. But the females
I'd need a very
usually
big magnifying glass.
I don't know if you can see, but can you see that faint line on its thorax?
I actually can.
Yeah, so the males don't have that.
I'll just see if you can see the faint line on its thorax. Hang on. That in between those two shiny bits.
So not on the elytra, which are the wing covers. The thorax is this middle bit,
they're the bit.
and the faint line is there as well.
Right.
Yeah. So the males don't really have that.
Very good.
But I want to show you this other one because these larvae are not fully grown. They're going to shed one more time and get bigger.
Don't get too carried. Is that the big one?
Yeah.
Just wait for a tick because we're going to take a short break.
Okay.
And this is something worthwhile coming back for, I promise. We're fighting with a giant here on OurTime. Oh! He just fell off his perch.
It's all right. I'll pop in.
Poor little thing.
You all right?
Yes, here he goes. Look at that. That's a giant.
Yeah, that's pretty big. That's one of the biggest scarab beetles that we have in South Australia that we know about.
So not a beetle yet?
Not a beetle yet, it's a larva. But
see, I know all this stuff.
It's already been a larva for more than a year.
You can see that he hasn't stopped eating.
Yeah, and...
I'm saying he, I should say it, because I don't know what it is.
I haven't looked.
Do you?
Maybe a female, but it's... It depends because this is
turn it upside down to look at it.
This is an undescribed species, Malcolm.
Yeah, now that's what's really special.
I know, I can't believe I've dug it up for you. It's so special.
It's special because...
I've only got 3 of them.
Right, well, don't handle it too much.
But I bred them, someone found the adult beetle and brought it to me, and it turns out that it's probably undescribed.
Does this happen often, Kristen, that people bring you their bucks?
Sometimes, yeah. Well, yeah, it does, yep. So sometimes I engage in projects. So I'm growing beetles for the Melbourne University at the moment, but they're not studying beetles, they're studying colour.
Right.
And some beetles have true colour, whereas a lot of bugs, their colour's not true colour. So it's just light reflected off a surface, and the way the reflected light, reflects and bounces around, changes how our eyes see the colour. So if you think like blue morpho butterfly wings, those shiny, changey colour wings, they're not true colour, but these guys, the beetles, do often have true colour.
What I think is amazing here is we've all seen Star Wars. Hang on, I'll just move this out the way because he's doing a solo performance now. Don't do that. We've all seen Star Wars, and Jabba the Hutt comes to mind when I look at this creature as to where the inspiration for that character probably came from.
Oh, you know what? Next time I talk to you, I think there's something that's even more Jabba the Hutt than this.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
all right.
But we have to go to the beach.
Right. Well, we'll have to get back for that.
I have to bring the beach to you.
All right. So when we first started talking about this, we haven't explained what this is yet, and we haven't looked at the ant yet. This is obviously somebody's home.
For sure, yep. So dead wood, it starts out as something pretty solid, and it can take hundreds and hundreds of years before it becomes a habitat. Right, before anything moves into it. And that's a process that can begin before the wood is even dead.
Right.
So that's a process that can begin when a plant's quite young. So this is, one of the stages that might occur in the formation of something like a hollow.
Yes.
And a hollow, a hollow big enough for an animal like a possum might take 50
for
years.
a very long
but
time.
But it starts off, what this is, if you just want to hold it again, what this is a sapling that's been cut in half.
Yes, of course.
And what you can see here is...
You've got the other half there.
Yep. I think it's the other half of that one. It might be the other half of a different one because I've got a few of them. Okay. But what you can see is where the hole...
Okay. Now let me just show you this one. Oh, here you take this one.
Yep.
Oops.
So we call that thing a bore.
So there's the hole. You can see the hole.
We call that thing a bore. So, people talk about wood borers. And the idea in your brain is that they're always bad things. But if you're an ecologist, they're always good things. I want to say in my world, they're always good things. Because what they're doing is creating habitat, right? So this is actually the larva of a moth.
Yes.
One of the hepialid moths, the rain moths. Right? In case of this one, it's one of the Anitas, which is a bright green, beautiful rain moth that nobody would ever see, really. And it starts its life...
It only flies around in the rain?
Yeah, it has an annual life cycle about now, if it ever rains.
This is here
it's been very dry.
Almost winter time here in South Australia.
So in sort of April, May, June... around that time, when we get some good rain, all of these rain moths will emerge, the ones that are ready, will emerge out of their bores, or some of them out of the ground, depending on what kind of... There's another one called Antibiotes that lives in the ground and emerges out of the ground.
How do you remember all this?
It's like lines to a song. How do you remember that?
How do you remember that?
So there's a whole heap of things that live in dead wood and that create hollows. So this might start with a bore, and then that leaves, like this one's left, and then other things move in, termites, ants, centipedes.
Sorry, what's the proper word for when they start as
succession?
Oh, okay.
Oh, sorry.
Well, they start as a obviously.
Metamorphosis.
After they're metamorphosized.
Then they leave.
Yes.
They might stay in the bore for a year or even 50 years, depending on what they are. Somebody else moves in and they do the same thing we do in our dead wood that we live in. They come in and they go, I like it, but I really want to open up the kitchen.
I'm in earth, I'm in bricks.
Yeah, that's right. But you still want to open up your kitchen, right?
Yes.
So that everything does that. That's a really natural process, this process of renovation and renewal in nature.
Gee, that's a really interesting way to put it, isn't it? Renovation and renewal.
Yeah. So you move in and you go, I want a pool, or I want, I can't possibly live here unless I've got an open plan, right? We have to build an extension.
And the people that were here before, I just want to go out this way. You can see that that's all deeper.
Yeah, and as this hole gets bigger, the tree gets bigger, and eventually, that's one way it can happen. There's other ways too. And then the mycelium moves in.
But that's why it's so necessary to have old trees, isn't it?
Yeah, because the more specific something is, right? So if you think of an endangered species that uses hollows, like some of the big owls or some of the big cockatoos, right? Yep. They need a big hollow, and the narrower their selection criteria, the more likely they are to be endangered, because some things, like we've got rainbow lorikeets. I think I bought one in once, right?
Yes.
So I could nail a boot to a tree and a rainbow lorikeet would nest in that. Don't care. Right, they'll nest in a log in the ground if there's no one else in there, and if there is someone else in there, they'll kick them out.
Fussy.
Right, that's
They're pretty birds, but not fussy.
And they've been very successful as a result.
Yep.
But something like a yellow-tailed black cockatoo has very specific requirements. It's got very narrow selection criteria. It needs a particular species of tree. It probably needs it to be alive, I guess. I don't know much about them. It probably needs the hollow to be a certain distance above the ground, and it probably needs the hollow to be a certain depth.
When a branch is broken off and it's left a little bit of an indentation, then one species comes in and hollows a bit of that out, then another species until it's big enough.
Yeah, but a red-tailed black cockatoo
no, we're talking about that
won't necessarily nest in any random spot. It's going to say, no, it's like, no, I have to live in Unley. Yes. I couldn't possibly live anywhere else.
No.
That's not me, but that's some people, right? Or,
I get it. Yeah, I get it. It's the right habitat. It's the same for humans. We like to feel that we're safe and secure. So they only want
the expensive real estate, the expensive exclusive real estate. And the more expensive and exclusive their tastes are, the more likely they are to be endangered. And that's whether or not They're something that lives in the water. So some of our endangered species of fish and crustaceans need submerged dead wood that's been made hollow. Some of our endangered species of owls and reptiles and cockatoos in particular, mammals, gliders, all of those things that utilise hollows, the more narrow their selection criteria is, the more likely they are to be endangered. And so what does that mean for us? Why do I want you to put a log in your garden? Well, estimates...
mostly because we've cleaned out the land that we're living on.
Yeah, everyone has got these really sterile gardens, right?
Gardens.
And the reason I want you to just
concrete.
put a log down, lay a log down. Let's make that our...
Lay a log.
Let's make that our marketing...
Yes, let's lay a log.
Our slogan, that's the word. Lay a log down. Lay a log for nature.
Lay a log for nature.
I like that. Lay a log for nature. And the reason I want you to do that is because there are some studies that estimate that even if we left 100 times as much dead wood as we're leaving now, that's not going to be enough to support biodiversity into the future. Because
it takes so long for that to break down to what it needs to be.
And when I say that's not enough to support biodiversity in the future, I mean, even if we increase our dead wood load by 100 times what we've got now, that won't support biodiversity in the future to exist at its current level.
I get it.
So that means if we don't change that, for the next 100 years, biodiversity will, and there's other reasons, but biodiversity will continue to decline.
But we're going to lose some of the most important creatures because we forget that these little creatures are where we all started, sort of.
That's right, from little things, big things grow.
Exactly.
And
I've got to show this little thing that I'm finding quite amazing as it walks around here. Maybe I can see it that way, that's good.
Yeah.
Because you found this in the car park.
I did. I found it wandering around the car park and I thought, goodness, that's a really good example of what we're talking about because this is an ant called a... oh, now the name's just escaped me. What am I saying? Myrmecia. God, that's age, I think. Myrmecia. It's probably Myrmecia pyriformis, but I haven't had a close look at it. And this one's a queen, right? And she can live for at least sort of 12 years.
Oh, really?
And some of them live for like 50 years, depending on the species.
Really?
But she needs to find somewhere, some habitat to build her nest. And what does she want? She wants either dead wood or she wants dead wood adjacent to some pretty decent ground where she can create her burrow and start to lay her brood and create her colony. So she would be an ant that's flown in the last couple of weeks.
Now, would she have mated already?
Yep, she would have mated already.
Okay.
And now she's wandering around desperately trying to find somewhere to build her nest in the midst of all the concrete and the compacted ground and the ground that doesn't have any dead wood on it or any mulch on it. So there's no mycorrhizal layer, right? So ants, I think I said before, I think if there's a god, it's fungus. And if there are angels, it's the ants. So we know that in forests, right, the fungal mycorrhizae can act as like a telecommunication system through the forest.
Yes.
And the ants, are the linemen of the county.
Oh, right.
So they're working on the lines, maintaining that telecommunication.
Yeah, but that's amazing, isn't it? That all the trees are basically talking to each other through the.
Yeah, I kind of think it's really obvious, but.
Well, it isn't because we don't live in a hole in the ground.
Oh no, I feel like I've always had a concept that all the things in nature are connected and they're all communicating. Well,
this is when
somehow.
You learn that they actually are. We've got to unconnect ourselves for a few seconds.
Okay.
And we'll be back in a tick. Welcome back to OurTime. I've realised the whole program I've been sitting in this interesting position overseeing these amazing creatures that Kristen has brought in. The point you were just making before the break about, all things basically working together to be what we actually are, us being sort of the top of a food chain, so to speak, ranging down to some of the things that are literally at the bottom of the food chain.
Well, see, I probably wouldn't use that kind of hierarchy because I think we're probably We're probably at the least important end of things.
Well, they'll eat us in the end.
And they're the most important end of things. So I'd probably flip that on its head and say, we don't really matter, and they matter a whole lot. They
matter to keep the planet functioning.
That's
what you
right.
really mean.
Well,
and
they can live without us, but we can't live without them.
We can't live without them.
Yeah.
That's such a good message to take away, actually.
Okay.
But more importantly, and we just briefly touched on this before, about being the inspiration for others to pursue the knowledge of how these invertebrates actually affect us all has been so valuable. So I hope that if you've been watching the program, which obviously you are right now, but
Hi, Mum.
there's been something that Kristen has said, though, that has really had an effect on you to understand more how important all these bugs and slugs are. Because that's what you do, isn't it? You go around, you breed for universities, you go around to schools talking about them. Do kids find this fascinating?
Yeah, kids are really easy.
I'm a big kid then, because
they're already on board.
I find it fascinating.
But I want to keep people there even as adults, you know.
Well, quite.
Otherwise, I've wasted my life.
Thank you so much. It's been great having you on the program again. You must come back again soon because you always come in with something amazing.
Thanks for letting me bug you, Malcolm.
Oh, it's my pleasure. So until next time that we see your faces again, keep yourself nice till then. Thanks, Kristen.
Thanks, Malcolm.